Hello everyone, welcome to my session on PowerUp with chatbots. My name is Danish N and I'm an MVP in business application. Let's first give a round of applause for our sponsors. And then let's get started with our session. What is Power Virtual Agent? A Power Virtual Agent is a low-code, no-code application created by Microsoft that tries to address major issues while creating the bot. It empowers your team to work collaboratively and create bots. So the subject matter experts and the dev team can work collaboratively and create good, meaningful bots. It also reduces cost because now you don't have to create anything from scratch, right? There's no cost in writing code from scratch. There is no cost, less cost in testing the bot because now if you're not writing the code, so you don't have to do intensive testing on the bots, right? And then it also improves the customer satisfaction because now the customers do not have to wait hours on support calls or go back and forth in emails. They can, if they have queries around some simple questions, they can easily go on your website or anywhere the bot is hosted and then just ask questions to the bot, which they can easily get the answers for. So why use chatbots? Now, some of them we already looked in the previous slide, but we'll again touch base on a few of those topics here, just to give you a key highlight of why we need chatbots. Why is it important to have chatbots, right? So first thing is it empowers your subject matter experts. Initially, if you're developing your chatbots and a dev person is actually, or a developer is actually creating a chatbots, then they might not completely understand the business logic. And with that, keeping that in mind, your bot might not respond correctly to the questions that the users might encounter. But now if that power is given to a subject matter experts or who is well known in that business domain or in that field, then that person can easily create meaningful bots which will be useful for the users and would actually be helpful, right? So because PowerShell agent is a low-code, no-code interface, it empowers that subject matter experts to create bots that can be helpful to the users. Second is it provides a rich and natural language, which makes it easier for human interaction. So I, as a person, do not want to remember the trigger points, right? Or how should I talk to a bot? If that bot is conversational bot, is what we call, right? Conversational AI, it's easier for having that dialogue between the bot and the user. And that's what the Power Virtual Agent provides, a rich natural language interface. And then the third and the most important point that you would want your chatbots to have is enabling the bots to act on behalf of the user. So for example, like if I have a query and I ask certain questions and then at some point it's say I'm using a product and I encountered an issue. So I'm asking a bot what the resolution is, and let's say it's actually a product bug. So instead of user sitting there or maybe user reaching out to a support representative saying that, hey, he encountered a product bug, instead of that, if bot understands that it was a product bug and create a case for that user, create a case to a team for that user and then give them the case ID or something, right? So now bot is actually taking actions on behalf of the user and then creating those things in the backend so that there could be meaningful actions being taken for those queries, right? And that's what the power of virtual agent is. Next, we are going to look at what are the key concepts in Power Virtual Agent. So as you can see on the slide, we have system topics, user topics, then entities and channels. Now, system topics are something that are created by the system themselves, and these topics cannot be deleted. These topics cannot be deactivated, but you can certainly modify these topics. So topics is nothing but, like, when you're having conversation, what topic are you having conversations about? So let's say if I am connecting with a person initially, first time, I'm gonna say hi or hello, right? That's a greeting. That's one topic. Now then, after inquiring about his health and well-being, I started my other topic. Let's say I want to discuss about certain proposal, and I'm gonna talk about that certain proposal. Let's say I wanna travel to a certain place. So that becomes my another topic. Now, if I'm talking about a product, that becomes another topic. Product X, product Y, right? So these are topics. Now, system topics are something that are already provided to you, which are used in all the pods. Like greetings is a system topic. Then you have escalations, feedback, end of conversations, and things like that. These are system topics. You can always modify or author their system topics, change the the way these system topics behave, but you cannot delete or deactivate this. Whereas user topics, you can create them, you can deactivate them, you can delete them, and you can modify them. So all these operations that we normally do on everything are available only on user topics. User topics are like, you have to create them, right? Any topic based on your business case. So when a subject matter expert comes in, he's going to create user topics based on, let's say, travel, right? So travel, and if I'm planning a journey, if I want to know what are the things to do in certain place, then that becomes one specific topic, right? So that subject matter expert is going to go and create those topics. We are going to look at user topics and system topics in the demo today. And then there is the third concept called as entities. Entities are nothing but there are pre-built entities, and then there are user-defined entities. Now, pre-built entities are nothing but your age, let's say age, zip codes, cities, countries, things like that are called pre-built entities. These are already so Microsoft has already created these entities for you, and Microsoft has already trained it. So for example, let's say there is a entity called city in the system. It already is existing, and the way it's trained is, now if you type New York City, yes, that's a city, but if you type NYC, it is still a city. So the bot should understand that whenever you type NYC, you are actually talking about a city. And that's where these entities are helpful, because these nomenclatures that we use in our day-to-day life, those are built into the entities, regular entities. So now you don't have to create something different or train your bot for this specific things, because it's already there available for you. Whereas user-defined or user-created entities are different. They are specific to the business case. For example, again, to that travel topic that we were talking about. So if I'm building a bot for travel, right, then things to do would have attractions listed to it. And attractions might become one of my entity. And in the attractions, I can write all the attractions that are there, and then the synonyms for those attractions. So entities have two things. You list down the name of the records inside an entity, and then also each record would have its synonyms. So for example, in New York City, there's a Central Park. That's an attraction. But Central Park is also sometimes called as park by New York City resident, because there's only one big park in the city, so they call it park. Are you living near the park? They don't call it Central Park. Some people call it Central Park, some people call it just park, right? So that's a synonym for New York resident. So this kind of things can come into play when you're creating an entity. Now, the fourth concept is the channels. Channels is something where your bot is gonna be published, not published, but on which channel are you gonna deploy your bot, right? So is it gonna live on your website? Is it gonna live on your Facebook Messenger? Is it gonna live on Teams? And one bot can have multiple channels, more than one channels, right? So at the same time, the bot can be on your website. It could also be on PowerUp's portals. It could also be integrated into Teams, right? You can have multiple channels. So now, because we're talking about channels, let's see what are the different type of channels. So as you can see on the screen, there are many channels, and there might be more channels being added to PowerVirtual Agent. And the one that we are interested today in the demo is we are going to look at how to integrate the bot with a website. Okay. Now, before we actually dive into the demo, there are certain things or tips that you should know. Now, first one is, whenever you're authoring a bot or whenever you're embedding a bot, make sure that the bot is the first one to initiate the conversation with the user, or bot is the first one to introduce itself to the user. So as soon as I click a button, or as soon as I go on Teams and click a button to have that conversation with the bot, if bot loads with nothing showing up as a user, I'm confused. What should I ask the bot? Like, I may have a query, but I don't know the trigger points, or I don't know, I don't have the direction, right? And when bot starts that conversation, it's more natural. So because whenever you're calling someone and the other person picks up the call, he or she would first say hello, and then you would start that conversation, right? Similar concept is here. That's why it has to be more natural. So whenever I'm clicking a button, if bot is first one to make that introduction, it feels natural. That's what you want to keep in mind when building the bot. We are going to see it in today's demo. Second is the support. Now, if the bot is not able to answer any questions, out of the box, bluntly, bot would just say, I don't understand this phrase. Try something else, or try rephrasing it. That's what it says. But it would be great if a bot could be creative in this, and a bot could either provide a link to a KB article, or provide a link to the support page where they can get more help. The best way to do is to transfer it to a live agent, but sometimes that's not possible, and then you might want to use other techniques like point to KB articles or point to the support page where they can get more help. Right? Third is, always look at your analytics and always keep your bot trained with new topics. If there are any new phrases that are coming up or new trigger points that are coming up, always make sure that you are looking at the analytics, looking at the abandon rate, looking at your how many times was the escalations been done, right? Things like that. Always look at the analytics and see how you can improve the bot, right? Just don't create the bot and then forget about it. Keep it up to date. And the fourth is UX and UI. So when you're building your bot, or when you're actually embedding your bot on a website, on PowerUp's portals, not on Teams, because Team has certain interface, right? And it always uses that interface. But if you're embedding it either on a website or on a PowerUp's portal, make sure that it is user friendly, right? If you're just doing an iframing of the bot, it doesn't look good on the website. So Those are the things that we are going to look into today's demo of how to improve the UX UI as well. So let's look at the demo. Now I've provided a link to the sample code here, which you can always go and look at it. And also I've also provided a link to the Microsoft documentation references on how you can use how you can change the UI of the bot. Now the way you start with chatbots is you have to go to make.powerups.com, go to your proper environment, and then in this area on the left hand panel you can see chatbots. You can go to create and start creating your chatbots. I've already created a chatbot called tab, and I'm going to directly go to that Power Virtual Agent tab, and this is how the interface looks like once you have created your bot. And we saw on slides about certain concepts that we learned in the slides was system topics, user topics, entities, and channels, right? So these are topics, and this is mixture of system topics as well as user topics. Now here is where it shows you the type. This gear icon with the chat symbol is the system topic, whereas just the chat symbol is your user topics. Now you can see that user topics, you can actually activate or deactivate those, but system topics are always on. Also, you can see that if I hover over any of these user topic, I get more options and I can actually delete them. But system topics, I don't get that extra option. I can still go and do the authoring of those system topics, but I mean, I can modify them, but I cannot deactivate or delete them. They're always on. And then we have these entities. Entities also, we learned two things about entities. One is your pre-built entity, and the other one is your user-defined entities. Now, pre-built entities, you can see these are all methods which are called pre-built. You can see these are all pre-built methods provided by Power Virtual Agent application. But then you can also create your own entities. Those are called closed list. And as I was saying, if I go in the user-defined entities, that's how I like to call them, but you can call it as closed list. You have to provide the list item. So that's the record name, or that's the item name. So like Central Park, right? That's my actual item. Statue of Liberty is one item. Madison Square Garden is another item. But the synonyms for those items that the user can also use is park. For Statue of Liberty, it could be Liberty Park. Madison Square Garden, they can just call Madison Square, things like that, right? So you can keep on adding and create your own closed list. Now, if we go to cities, you can see that these are pre-built, so you don't actually see the list of all the records, but what you could see is if user types in this, it recognizes the value as Seattle. But if I type in I love NYC, NYC is also considered as New York City. So, right? So these are pre-built, and these are really good to use because sometimes you also get zip codes. And that was really great when it came out. I was like, oh yeah, this is great, because you want to validate your zip codes. And if users are not typing in the correct zip codes, you might want to tell them to type in the correct zip code. This is going to help you with that. Okay, and then comes the channel. Now, channel is something where you want your bots to be configured, right? Where the bot is going to get surface, and there are multiple channels where your bot can surface at the same time. You can have Teams, you can have your custom websites, mobile applications, Slack, Facebook, a lot of things. Today we are going to focus on custom website. Now, when you actually use this custom website, you get a code which is an iframe code, but we are not going to use that today. In our demo, we are actually going to do a DOM manipulation to insert the chatbot so that it becomes the part of the website and not as an iframe. Okay. So quickly, let's just go and look at our topic first, right? And we are going to hit some of the things that we learned in the slides. So if I go to the authoring canvas, so let me go back. sorry, let me go to this things to do first. Now, when you actually start your topic, you have to provide a name. You can provide friendly name and description, and then you have to provide trigger phrases. Trigger phrases is something that would invoke this particular topic, right? So when, again, going back to that phone conversation, let's say if I am calling you and you start the first conversation saying hello, you have reached, let's say, XYZ, and I said, oh yeah, hey, how are you? Are you doing good? That's the greeting, and that's all, part of our daily routine. Now, once we have exchanged the highs and hellos, then because I'm the person who's calling, right? So I'm going to say, hey, did you do this particular task? So I'm the one who is actually starting the topic. So I'm putting in some words, or I'm saying some words. Those are my trigger phrases. That's what the bot needs. So bot needs to know what are you talking about, or what do you want to know about, and these are those phrases. Now, I'm building this bot for a travel agency, and what they want the users to do is help the users to plan their trip by providing the list of attractions in whichever city that they want. So what could be my trigger phrases? It could be attractions, it could be itinerary, it could be planned trip, it could be things to do, whatever comes to mind. I've added it over here, and then that's what the trigger phrase is going to be for this particular topic. Then I go to the authoring canvas, and in the authoring canvas, first thing is I'm going to provide a message saying like acknowledging that the bot understands what are you talking about, and then ask counter questions, or ask the questions so that you want to direct the users appropriately, so that bot can respond to or know what the user wants, and then respond it correctly with the resolutions, or with the information that the user is looking for. So here, first question that I ask is, which city are you planning to visit? And then I could have used city, and then I could have just used the pre-built entity, but I just wanted to show how you can use identify and multi-choice options, and then how you can have this different conditions over here. But you could have used any of the entities over here. One of the response that is there is the choice option, and that's what I've used over here. And then I've provided 3 options, so user can just select from those 3 options. So user actually doesn't have to type any of the city. User actually gets the selection of predefined cities, and I'm just only considering, so this is a starter bot, let's say, and my bot is just helping users who want to plan trip to New York, Paris, or London. Right? So I'm just using this 3 options, and then based on whatever the response is, different conditions gets triggered. And then, as you can see, if I'm placing New York, the message is different. If I go to Paris, the message is different, and if I go to London, the message is different. But all these messages converge into one single action over here. And there are a few things that can happen here, right? So you can have complex scenarios built into your topics. This is just giving you an idea of how you can author your topic. Now, we also learned in the slide that why to use bot is one of the reason is because bots can take action on behalf of the user, and this is what is happening here. So here what I'm doing is I'm actually looking at this is just the action to get the attraction details. So based on whatever city they are typing in, I'm actually calling a PowerUp which goes and looks at which city was invoked, and then provide the appropriate markdown text and list of attractions. So that's what this PowerUp is doing, and then I'm just displaying that message over here. But this is the part that I was talking about bot taking an action on behalf of the user is where this is coming into picture. Is now I'm actually asking the user whether they want to book a flight. And if you say, okay, yes, I want to book a flight, then you are asked with follow-up questions like, where are you traveling from? What time are you traveling from? Things like that. And then Power Automate can go and do the booking. Now here, I'm not actually going through and booking the flight, right? But I'm just showing you if it can be done or not. So yes, it can be done, and this is where the bot is actually taking action on behalf of the user. So user is not going and doing the booking, bot is going and doing the booking and then providing the booking details back to the user and saying, hey, I've booked the flight from this city to this city. These are the travel dates and this is the booking ID. And that's how the topic is, right? Okay, so now that you understand the bot, right, let's go and look at how can we integrate this bot on a website. Okay, so I've created this website called Travel World, and on this website you can see that I have placed my I've placed a button on the website where users can go and click to start the conversation with the bot. Now, if you would have gone with the iframing thing, then it would have looked something like this. So if you just take the one that is coming out of the box, the iframe code, and you just add it in your website, it would look something like this. And when you start typing hi, and again, because it's an iframe, it doesn't actually invoke or it doesn't actually start the conversation by itself. You have to type in something and then it will respond to you. So we also saw the advantage of bot starting the conversation, and in this manner, if we do iframe embedding, it just doesn't work. And again, there are very limited style options in here, and the font also is not the one that we have been using on the website. But in the other case, I've embedded this, I've added a button, and then once you click on that button, you can see how like a modern interface comes in front of you. So now this particular bot, it's actually on like this, there's a transparency on the bot, like the theme is transparent. It's actually using the same font that's been used on the website is been used by the bot as well. So there's like, the bot is actually matching with the theme of the website. Also, it looks modern. The way you can do whatever stylings you want with this particular, in this particular way, you can style your bot however you want. I have styled my bot in this way, but doesn't have to be this way, right? Again, because I have used DOM manipulation to embed my bot on a website, you can see that it actually started the conversation by itself. So you didn't see any hi, or you can see that the first conversation is actually from the bot and not from you as the user. And it actually tells me what I need to do. So it tells me, okay, I need to type in things to do or weather for a city. So now I've only created one single topic for things to do. I could have done weather for city as well, but then just for the demo purposes, I'm just going to stick to one topic. So I'm going to say things to do. Right now it gives me these options of New York, Paris, London. Again, the theme of the buttons are also matching the theme of the website. If you go and look here, and if I type in things to do, you will see that this now has blue color. I mean, coincidentally, there was a blue color here, but there is no blue color on this page, right? So you can see that if I would have embedded my my bot using iframe, that blue color would have just stood out because there's no blue color on the screen. Whereas this one is where it is subtle, right? It's not standing out, and it's matching the theme. Now I'm going to pick New York, and now you can see that the bot is responding according to whatever selections I had made. Now it's saying, okay, what attractions are you planning? I say Central Park, and then it would go and show you a nice way, a nice images, and this is the markdown file that it generated. And the way it generated the markdown file is actually Power Automate is getting invoked, and Power Automate creates this markdown text and then returns that text back to the bot. But in this way, let's see how this particular bot responds when it's embedded in an iframe. Doesn't matter what I type here. And you can see that the way it responded is pretty different than the way it looks here. So see how mismatched the stylings are, right? Because this is out of the box, or I mean the one that is provided from the iframe. So the stylings are used from that particular website. Whereas this one is actually using the styles that are provided by the by my website and not by the Microsoft one. Yeah, so it's all matching, right? So that's the beauty of it when you do when you add this into the DOM rather than using as an iframe. So continuing with the bot, and then it says, do you want to book the flight? I say yes. And where which dates are you planning? Now you can enter any date you want. So I'll say 1st of March 2021. And I did a mistake, right? I said March, but it'll take, I'll say Charlotte. And then now it's going, and you can see that, yeah, it took the right date. Even though I misspelled MA, it still recognized it correctly. Recognized from, recognized New York because I selected New York on top, and it gave me a booking ID. And yeah, that's it. Now I can close the chat, and let's see how we can create this style, right? So I have another website for experimentation, or for checking how we can do this, right? So this particular website doesn't have anything over here. Now I'm gonna copy the link that I just showed you on the slide, the demo link for the code, and this is the code that would help you create that kind of look. Now it's not going to be exactly the same kind of look because I have done some extra HTML styling things over here, but let's see how this particular, so this is the code that is available to you publicly. It's a gist file on GitHub, and I've divided it into two parts. One is the HTML file, and the other one is the CSS file. Now in the HTML file, you can just copy this HTML as is. Yeah, and then let's go on this website's code. So let me go to that website code and then go to the index file. Now you can put it in any of the file you want. I'm going to put it on my index file, and the way I've drafted that particular code is it can be pasted anywhere on inside the body tag, and it would just automatically render it perfectly, because the main thing is in this code is this particular button. So this particular button is the button that the user clicks, right? And then that opens up the chat, and then the chat. So there are two things in this. There's this button. It shows up that the button that the user clicks, and then once the user clicks, then this particular div tag shows up. So div tag is where the entire bot is being loaded, and the button is where using the magic of CSS we can place the button wherever we want. It's a floating button, and then this is again a floating div tag. So and once you have placed this over here, yeah, so let's just style this properly. Yeah, and then once you have placed this over here, we are gonna do the second thing is copy the CSS. So let's go and copy the CSS. So this is the bot style. Now I've also provided an animation, what kind of animation if you want to, but I'm not gonna use it today. And let's go in the CSS file and add this CSS. Okay, so in this CSS I've also written a blog on this. Each of this status or forms are part of that bot styling. So if I go to the bot, so this particular thing is called form, this is called status. So the buttons, when the button appears, that's called status. That's a div tag inside that, like the body of that bot, right? And all these things are actually listed on the website, the Microsoft documentation reference that I had provided in the slide. It talks in detail about all these things. So it talks about how you can customize things, how you can change the bot icon, how you can change the bot name, background color, how you can customize the host chat canvas itself, and it just gives you a lot of these details. What it does not talk about is how you can actually change the internal things, like if you are on the bot, how you can change this font, how you can change the button styling that we saw. Those kind of things can also be changed, and the way you can change it is each of those have their own roles associated to them. So if you see the CSS file, you can see that I'm specifying the role. So if there's a div tag with the role form, then it would have a background of white background with a transparency of 60%. Whereas if it is a div tag with the role as status, then it would have a border. If it's a div tag with a role status and status has a button inside it, then what would be my button color, what would be my button's border color. And this is how I'm actually specifying that my buttons that are shown on my bots are having the same styling, matching my my theme of the website, right? And this is where, you know, this entire thing is called form, where the buttons shows up. That entire area is called status, and the buttons inside buttons are actually inside that status div. Okay, so that's how we're gonna do our styling. So like going back, let's just save this, and now once we have our code in here, we can just run the website. And when we run the website, we can see that the button appears over here. Now it says unable to connect because the code that is provided over here is actually not having a bot ID. So what you have to do is you have to add your bot ID over here. Now the way you get your bot ID is you go back to your Power Virtual Agent and you go to channels, and then you can click on either your custom website or mobile interface, and this is the bot ID that is that you would need in order for you to embed it on the website. So I'm going to copy this bot ID and I'm going to go back to the code, and I'm going to add my bot ID over here and save it. Now let's go and see if it renders properly or not. And see, and there you go, right? So now my bot is ready. It also started the conversation by itself. The reason why it started the conversation by itself is because in the code we have this line of code from line 29 to line 52, where it says it's creating a store, and it's requesting the bot to start the conversation, right? So it's starting the conversation, and whenever the conversation is starting, the bot is actually invoking the greetings. So when you go to the topics, and when I go to the greetings topic, you would see that these messages are what is getting displayed on the bot. So if you change these messages, the bot would display different messages. So always make sure that your greetings is up to date. Always make sure that you're changing your fallbacks. So if I go to your my fallback topics, you would see that I have changed it. So in case I was talking about what if bot is not able to answer any of the question. So this is what my fallback would be. So if I type something else, which the bot is not able to understand, bot will respond pretty neatly saying that, it's very embarrassing, it's learning, things like that. Whatever you can point to KB articles, you can point to contact us, or you can actually transfer it to an agent as well. Then the other thing is also there's an escalation, right? So if anyone wants to talk to an agent, then you have to create a link, right? That the user can click. So there's an integration piece which I'm not covering in the demo, but once you do that, you can transfer that call, transfer this particular chat to a live agent. But if you don't have it, then you can put some message which would be really helpful for the users. So in this case, I'm saying, okay, right now this capability is not available, but if you want to connect, you can connect using this link to someone, right? So, but yeah, that's how we created our code, and the code is available on GitHub, and the link is provided in the slide, and you just have to copy this code, paste it, and use it. It's pretty straightforward. What it does is this particular buttons are the one that you're pressing, and then on this button click, this open chat is actually opening and closing that particular div tag that is associated with the chatbot. So this div tag is the entire div tag with the bot configuration in it, and then this chat window is getting open and closed, like getting shown and hidden, and that's how I'm doing it. So anytime you click on it, it will hide. Anytime you click on it, it will get shown. Similar concept is used here as well. Now once you click on it, I know it's open, so I can show, okay, close the chat. If I click on it, then I know it's closed, so I just change the text, I just change the image over here, and that's how this particular thing is working. And there's an animation included in this too. And that's all. Any questions?